Well, thanks. That's a great start for me. But I do want to, specifically thank Stuart Breck and Sharon Posel for all of their work and for giving us the opportunity to be a participant in the study. Again, I'm Pete Dunleavy with the City and County of Broomfield, and I'm an Open Space and Trails Coordinator. And as a participant in this study, we just want to share some of our experience, some of our coyote conflicts, our response to those coyote conflicts, and then our role in this study and some of the ongoing research. Just to start to orient you, this is, I know, hard to see, but this is kind of the bulk of the Broomfield community. We're kind of bound on the eastern side, just to the west of I-25, and then diagonally on our southwest side is Highway 36. And we're about 33 square miles. What you see in green here is our open space. This map shows our county boundary and just sort of the green belts through Broomfield. So this includes open space parks, golf courses, school parks, conservation easements, things like that, that really make up the coyote habitat that kind of is intertwined through the community in these green belts. Here's an example of some of the habitat that we have. This is the field open space. You can see the coyotes are using the trails, using the open space. You can see a golf course in the background there. And this is kind of the habitat that we're used to, and I'm sure looks familiar to many of you, where all of these green belts that we have are close to development, close to residents, and shared with coyotes. Just some pictures of coyotes using our prairie dog colonies, coyotes using our agriculture fields. Here's just an example, again, of some of this habitat. We had a coyote den in the middle of a prairie dog colony at our Broomfield County Commons. In the foreground there, if you look in the background, we switched pretty quickly to park and onto a playground. This is an 8-inch drainage culvert that passes under a trail in one of our popular open space sites. We encountered a couple of years ago a mother coyote who was acting boldly and happened to look in the culvert under the trail and found out why, that the pups were using the culvert, I guess, as a cool place on a hot day. This is from some of the remote cameras, actually, that we put up through this study. And so this is the exact same spot in about a 48-hour period. Just to illustrate, we've got people walking their dogs, rabbits using this space, and then at night the coyotes coming through and hunting. And just another example of the type of habitat we have. This is a picture from Dr. Breck's study, actually from Bear Creek, but we just liked how this illustrated the type of habitat that we're seeing. This is a den site, obviously an embankment, 7 pups, but you can see the roof of the house just about 50 yards away. And I don't know if the residents of that house are even aware of this, but you can certainly see the potential for conflict with an off-leash dog or something like that that runs down from the house towards this den site. And really, this is why we were so excited about this study, is it's not a study of coyotes in rural and pristine areas. This is really the urban and suburban interface. Coyote conflicts really came to the forefront for Broomfield in 2009. Early 2009, we had 2 incidents where we had a bite on a human adult. Both of those incidents were brought about by encounters with off-leash dogs, where the owner then approached the coyote and was bitten. So in 2009 and into 2010, we worked on a comprehensive coexistence with wildlife policy that was adopted in August of 2010. In 2011, we had some even more concerning conflicts where we had, through the summer and fall of 2011, we actually had 3 bites on children that were not associated with off-leash dogs and more in the back of the backyard and that type of thing. We also track ongoing coyote and domestic pet conflicts, which, as everybody here probably knows, are fairly common. And so since 2009, I know it's hard to see on this map, but the different colors on this map represent the things that we're tracking. We don't even try to track things like sightings and encounters because they're so frequent. But we track, obviously, bites on humans, aggressive or threatening encounters with humans, and any attacks on domestic pets, with the distinction, in the tracking of whether those pets are attended or unattended, where they may be left in the backyard at night or are off leash. But we've shared this data. I know other communities are tracking this type of data too. So with our coexistence policy, a big part of that was developing specific response protocol for different kinds of things. When it's appropriate to approach a conflict with education, outreach, signage, when it's appropriate to go in and do some coyote hazing, and we have a pretty active hazing program, and also what the protocol is if we have a more serious problem for when we might lethally remove a coyote. This also set up a lot of programs for public education and outreach. At the same time we were doing this study, in 2011, after some of the more serious conflicts, we reached out to some national experts. Stan Garrett, Julie Young, and Seth Riley came to Broomfield in the winter of 2011 and 2012 and prepared a report for us with looked at the habitat, looked at where the conflicts happen, and gave us some feedback on things we might be able to do and how we can kind of identify the best management practices. And then, of course, after that, we've became a participant in the Metro Denver area coyote study with Dr. Breck. A really important part of all of this was really asking for help, expertise, and developing partnerships. We're technically a department of 2 employees in Broomfield Open Space. And so first and foremost was the help we got from Colorado Parks and Wildlife. While we strive to be self-sufficient with these issues, they've been a partner with us from day one, both providing research, and specifically our district wildlife manager, Chris Middledorf, Larry Rogstad, Jennifer Churchill, and others have really helped us respond, get the materials we need, flyers, signage, and teach us kind of the best ways to reach out to the community and educate people. In our own department, we've had really important partnerships too. Our Public Works and Parks Maintenance staff, I see Rick Sedbrook and Nathan Kelby over there, have put in countless hours helping us really with our hazing program, observing coyotes, participating in the study. Our police and animal services were an important part of this too. A lot of the calls, as you can imagine, when we have coyote conflicts, go to the police department. And so we kind of set up a way to track those where even any calls that come into dispatch about coyotes are forwarded on to us. And even if they're responding, they'll do a report so that we can kind of properly track what's going on. Obviously, our Health and Human Services Department has helped us along the way too. We have a wonderful Broomfield Wildlife Masters program, and I know some of you are here today. So these are volunteers that put aside their time to take calls from residents about wildlife conflicts, and they've certainly dealt with some coyote conflicts. We also developed a volunteer coyote crew specifically to go out to sites. From our tracking, if we determine that we have certain hot spots, our coyote crew members can go out there, just have a presence, see people along the trail, hand out things like coyote whistles, flyers, and get information out. Our Broomfield Nature program is, again, another volunteer educational program, and so we've worked with them, really, and the Wildlife Masters to do programs, regular programs through the year, be at events, go to some of the elementary schools and kind of start young with the education. And other municipalities, Marianne Bonnell certainly comes to mind as someone that's helped us a lot in Broomfield and come up and helped educate us and kind of teach us different ways to reach out to the community. And really, I can't stress how critical this is for us with what we designed to do and what we strategize to do in our coexistence policy. It just would be impossible to carry it out without these partnerships. Here's a couple pictures from some of our educational events. That's the Broomfield Nature program on top there. And one of our wildlife masters, teaching some kids what to do when they see coyotes. This is Rick Sedbrook from our Public Works staff who volunteered to work with Dr. Breck at all hours when we were trapping and collaring coyotes, and we've got a good action shot of him there. Another part of the study that we really benefited from was the remote cameras. We set up some remote cameras at den sites and got some footage like this, right in our very popular open space sites of some of these pups coming up this spring. These are 2014 pups. And then we got the data back from the collars, and I know Sharon and Stuart are probably going to talk a lot more about the information we got. These are we were able to collar 6 coyotes in Broomfield in 2013, and these are some of the ranges of interest here. Is just we weren't able to tell a whole lot on what a typical range size is because they varied so much. We had some coyotes that spent their entire lives in a 4 square mile area, and we had one that was down to Golden and back up to Lafayette and covered 100 square miles. So I just want to go through some of our observations just locally in Broomfield from the research. The densities that we're seeing just suggest that there's good habitat throughout Broomfield. More heavily developed areas do not discourage coyotes. We're seeing them in every corner of the community, especially looking at the collar data. They're passing through every part of Broomfield. Food availability might shape patterns, but many of the food sources, appear to be provided by humans. And most of this, we're not finding this is intentional. But through some of the necropsies of coyotes that have been hit by cars or something like that, we're finding things like, seed from fruit trees in their stomachs, bird seed, fruits, vegetables, things that we didn't necessarily expect but are associated with human activity. We found conflicts with humans usually involve domestic pets. Frequently it's a pet owner running after that dog that's gotten tangled up with a coyote. Or just uncomfortable encounters with coyotes. It's usually somebody walking a dog through the open space. One interesting thing that's come out of all this for us is changes in planning and development to address coyote concerns. So, when we started to realize that these coyotes were attracted to things like our ornamental fruit trees, we had one coyote that had a stomach full of cherry seeds from ornamental cherry trees. So, really, we've taken this back to planning. When we do development review now, we pull out fruit trees from many of the landscape plans. Everything from a Taco Bell to a residential development, we try to pull out those fruit trees. The layout too. I mean, we have layouts where we have an open space with lots of cover right up against a playground. We don't do that anymore. We've tried to separate some of those things. Just try to have a little bit more design right into our planning. As I mentioned, huge differences in the territories of coyotes. While the specific territories seem to be protected, the ranges certainly don't seem to be. We have, with our collared coyotes, we saw a lot of interlopers. For some reason, we had the assumption that males might be the transients that go off more. That didn't seem to be the case. We had our 2 biggest ranges of our 6 coyotes were lone female coyotes. We certainly noted a high rate of coyote mortality. I think, we hear a lot. There's no natural predators for coyotes. From our experience in Broomfield, it seems like a high rate of them get hit by cars. I know of our collared coyotes, I think 3 of the 6 were killed by cars. And just looking at the data, they're crossing Sheridan Boulevard, Federal Boulevard, Highway 36 on a daily basis. While the den sites we're finding are often in the open space areas and natural areas, the hunting range certainly is not. I mean, and related to the next point there, we see a lot more movement at night. Although we certainly see coyotes during the day, we see a lot more movement at night. So we're kind of seeing them denning down in the open space, whether it be in cattails or at the den site during the day. At night, they're all through neighborhoods, shopping centers, major street crossings, and that type of thing. So those are just a couple of the observations from Broomfield. I know we're on a pretty tight agenda, but certainly look forward to taking any questions later on during the discussion or find me afterwards. And thanks again for the opportunity to do this.